Welcome, everyone. I am Mert, founder of Troy Gaming Guild, the first one from Turkey and the largest one in the emerging markets. So today we are going to talk about Endgame gaming, community, and ownership in Web3. And what is meant by this is that how Web3 and Web3 market can affect gaming market in general and globally as well as regionally, and what it can do to your business as well as increase your conversion rates and revenue opportunities. So just a little bit of an introduction. I haven't prepared a presentation. I have done several years of investment banking, so I am not fond of presentations. So that's why I'm going to do this just verbally. But as Troy, let me introduce ourselves. We are right now just briefly more than 22,000 people as a gaming community. Most of the people in the community are hardcore gamers that have been playing along Web2 games for a long time. And as the community right now, we are regularly playing 6 Web3 games as well as trying out several Web2 games. And at the same time, we are testing 22, 25 games at a regularly. So these new games that we are testing usually come from Web3, but we have also started testing Web2 games as well, as most of the players are very fond of those games, especially kind of RPG or FPS style games. And my conversation today is going to kind of like revolve around 3 topics. Those 3 topics will first go through overall gaming market, and we will have a glance on how the numbers speak to us. And secondly, what Web3 actually brings to the Web2 gaming. And 3, what it can be done and what should be done as the next steps if you want to incorporate Web3 gaming into your game, into your studio, and into your capabilities. So starting with the first one as the overall gaming market glance. So there are right now 2 resources that you can look into if you want to check the gaming market size and how the numbers speak to you. One is Newzoo and the second one is Bitcraft, right? So Newzoo points to the gaming market size globally in 2022 at $196 billion, which is larger than any other media resource and media industry combined, combining art, hospitality, etc., right? And it forecasts that in 2025, it will go up to $225 billion, which is also very large, with a large growth rate over the next couple of years. But Bitcraft, on the other hand, points to a 90% larger of a market size in 2021, which is $335 billion. The difference in between is Bitcraft includes gaming hardware and gaming software, by which I mean the gray market sales of digital game items, etc., which makes the gaming market double in size when you look at it, when you measure it in that sense. But the core measurement is actually the same, which is gaming content and IP, which is what we do with all of you guys here, right? And with gaming content and IP, Bitcraft and Newzoo both point to a number close to $200 billion, to be exact, $194 billion, and that is what we are going to focus on today. So just keep in mind these numbers in circularity. The gaming market in total for content and IP is $200 billion, give or take. And from this $200 billion, you have PC, console, and mobile, and other categories that total up to $170 billion. From this $170 billion, you have the only mobile market covering more than half of the total market, which is $90 billion, right? And from this $90 billion this $90 billion is comprised of advertising and digital item sales. Advertising kind of comes up to 40% of the whole revenue stream, and in-app purchase sales and digital in-game item sales comprise kind of 60% of it, which makes it $53 to $55 billion when you look at it for in-app purchases, and the rest of it goes to advertising. So for Web3 purposes, as we do not yet have a kind of like a proper advertisement schedule and proper advertisement tool in there, we are going to focus on digital in-game items because those are what I call kind of like the back-end version of your regular in-app purchases that you sell right now in App Store, right? But a much more kind of advanced one. So with Web3 as the second part of this stream, what Web3 can bring to your game after looking at all these numbers is that we should keep in mind the IAP conversions, the in-app purchase conversions that you see in mobile are at 2 to 3%, if I'm not mistaken, right? So whenever you have 100 users and whenever you want to sell them an in-app purchase, or through advertising some other digital in-game item, only 2 to 3% of them on average actually convert and make you actually proper money. So there are several problems with it, although there are not proper researches on this in terms of user researches, but we have done several codes and as well as several researches on our community comprised of 20 to 25,000 people. So the three reasons people tell us that they do not actually buy in-app purchases is that, one, they cannot afford it, right? So you are trying to sell $10, $5 of in-app purchases, NFTs, whatever it is, any other digital in-game item to people. Let's look at Turkey, for example, as long as we are here, to a country where minimum wage is $248 and counting down, right? So the second one is spending money into a black hole. So they know that most of them actually, at least our users, go into Counter-Strike, Valorant, etc. They buy skins, yeah. So when you ask the same person that if that same guy actually buys in-app purchases in mobile games that he or she likes, could be Candy Crush, could be some other game, he says no, because I know that it's kind of like an impulse purchase. So whenever I buy it, or if I buy it, it's going to go into a black hole because at the end of the month, I'm not going to be able to do anything with that. So I bought an in-app purchase, but the subscription expires, and then I'm just left with kind of spending $2 to $3 or $5 or $10 at the end of the month. And the third reason is that low retention. So with mobile at 30 days, we all know that at 30 days, you can have, let's say, 15 to 20% retention for your user base, which is great, right? Which is what the likes of Spike, Cream, etc., they all point to, and to kind of like collect their customer acquisition cost through their LTV calculations, right? But when you look at it from a user perspective, they know that at the end of a month, even if they buy an in-app purchase or a digital in-game item, especially in mobile, they are not going to turn back and play around with it. So they are not really willing to easily spend money on these kind of items so that they can actually have the items and enjoy themselves in a much more fashionable way. But with Web3, so pointing again to these problems, to recap, cannot afford it, spending money into a black hole, and 3 is low retention. And the second and third one are interrelated, I know. With Web3, what you can do to address these problems is actually, for those who cannot afford it, which is what we have been doing with Troy, but that is not really the conversation here, we offer scholarships and rental infrastructure. So what is meant by this is that, imagine that you have an in-app purchase, which is more than $5, which is more than profitable for you. Let's say $10, $15, $20, sometimes $500 to $2,000 with NFTs, I mean, right? And these guys, you could say, guys from emerging markets or any other place, or in the US, a regular person, either doesn't want to afford it, coming back to the first point, or cannot afford it, right? So what you do, there are people who we call whales who afford it actually, who trade these items or do something with it, but they do not have a regular presence in the in-app purchase market because we know that they are licenses, not assets, and these guys only buy assets, which makes it NFTs, right? So these guys, or us, as a kind of organization, as a startup here, we buy these NFTs, and we buy them in bulk, and then After buying them, we are able to rent them out on-chain, fully on blockchain, to any other person who comes into our marketplace and who wants to play with that particular asset. So how it happens is that imagine you have a regular in-app purchase, which is coded as an NFT, so just as an extension, and then that NFT is listed into a marketplace, right, which cannot be done with the current Apple guidelines, etc., but can be done with all other games. And then any other user seeing the price of it, if it's at price that $500 or $1,000, cannot buy it, but wants to play with it because it's much of a kind of like a much more premium experience, right? So what we do is through our software, through the protocol that we have coded in here, we are actually able to give you the usage rights of that particular asset for your use for any time you choose, a week, a month, etc., against, say, a day, $1, or even better, free, 0, but with reward share conditions. So when you go into a Web3 game, most of it, not all of it, have tokens, right? Utility tokens by which you play a game, you earn XP, which is the same thing in Web3, and that XP can be tradable on the open market. So if a person plays the game well, does very good in FPS, etc., earns a lot of tokens, and then the NFT owner tells him that, look, I'm going to give you this NFT as the kind of like your gateway into this great metaverse or great universe, and then you are going to have this premium weapon that you can use to kill more people. And once you do that, you will be earning a lot of tokens that can be tradable on the open market. So once you do that, we will be splitting the rewards that you get 50-50, 60-40, or 70-30, whatever the deal is, and then you are going to profit, I'm going to profit, you are going to be able to play the game, and from that, you will be playing and earning if the game actually offers you that kind of like opportunity, although it's not conditional. And that is called scholarship. It all stays on the same infrastructure, which is the rental infrastructure here, but the kind of like the logic is the same. And the second reason, the kind of like the second solution addresser here for the problems that I've counted on are, which I think is might be kind of like the most important one as well, is that the users can actually sell the items, the digital in-game items, whenever and easily. And you could ask, so is this something new? This used to happen before. You could go to, I don't know, buyna.com, and then you could sell Counter-Strike skins, weapons, etc., right? But how it happens there is that you actually put in your items there, and because Steam Market or Valve doesn't allow you to programmatically transfer your assets from wallet to wallet or from account to account, you have to give your whole account credentials to someone, and then the marketplace in between treats itself as such a trusted third party and then transfer the assets to the buyer if it is sold. So with blockchain, we are able to do this in a single click. So whenever you have something, whenever you have a digital in-game item that is an NFT, you can sell it, transfer it, you can buy it whenever in a single click in a matter of seconds, right? And coming back to my first point here, the users who are your regular users to mobile, coming back to mobile here as well, they tell us, at least with our researchers, that if they were to be able to sell their digital in-game items, so the subscriptions or in-app purchases that they bought earlier on, they would have been more likely to purchase more, or they would have been more likely to convert more, because they know that if they buy $10 worth of an IIP, or in this case an NFT, they will be able to sell it back at whatever price. Right now, it's early, etc. The market is really volatile, so you can maybe sell it at $1 or $100, right? Doesn't matter. It is actually an infinite times return that you have in Web2, because you are even able to sell that same item that you bought for $1 for 1 cent or $100. Doesn't matter. It's just the user satisfaction, user psychology that gives them the kind of like the opportunity and the push that, look, it's okay to convert, it's okay to buy, because you are going to be able to sell it whenever, and no one can actually restrict you because it's all in the blockchain. If the game or the Web2 game or if any kind of like an infrastructure restricts you, you can go to OpenSea. If OpenSea restricts you, you can go to Magic Eden. If not, you can just deal with and have a handshake with someone else, some other friend, or some other person that you meet at Troy in the community, etc., and then tell them that, look, I want to sell this asset, so send me the money, and then I will send back the assets in just 2 clicks, right? So that is why the bottom line is that if you are to incorporate your game as a separate headline or as a separate kind of like a mechanism, your conversion rates at least are to shoot up to from 2 to 3% to more than 10% according to our experience, right? Just because people are able to sell it whenever and people are freely able to play the game whenever, however they want, without being actually able to afford it as well. So the user base that utilizes the premium assets in your game where you make money actually increases kind of like 5 to 10-fold. But that is yet to be seen with a kind of like a really large, high-scale game as well, but we have been seeing the kind of first impressions of that. So the question there is that we all know when these things happen, the kind of user acquisition is very important because as scale goes up, then the conversion rates go down, right? And that is kind of like a low here. So the question is, how we do user acquisition? Because in Web3, especially when you look at the likes of the most profitable UA channel, I guess, TikTok, which doesn't allow NFT advertisements, etc., it's problematic, right, on how you do it, or even if you do at Twitter, Facebook, Google, it's very, very expensive. So when you look at any other publisher out there like Supersonic, Rollic, and when you talk to their team, the kind of what they are pointing at you is that they want to they want to make their targets, which is to break even with their user acquisition costs against the revenue that they are getting by publishing your game. And then that's it. So profitability is actually going down a lot in Web2 if you are to spend a lot of money into Facebook and Google. So user acquisition, right? And Web3 here actually offers you kind of not something new, but something that is so underrated that right now it works. So which is community management. So you are actually your game, whatever your game is, and more than your title, more than your studio, you are the game that you are offering to consumers. So if you are good and well-intentioned, and if you are to offer people a place like Discord, like somewhere else, like IRL events, whatever it is, a place to convene and convene around your game and talk about it, and really manage it closely and post regularly and engage with them, then you are actually able to earn maybe not 1 million users, but 10,000 users who love your game. And we all know that it's better to have, I don't know if it goes for gaming, but at least in general for startups, it goes that it's better always to have 1,000 fans who really love your company or your game than to have 1 million people who actually kind of like it, right? Because those 10,000 people will be actually able to purchase your items, will be actually able to make you money, but those 1 million people may never do that. And that is what we are seeing, kind of like a very AAA game. An example, Crypto Unicorns by Laguna Games, Laguna Studio, has had a monthly active user, I guess last month of 7,000 people or something, and half of them, although the game is free to play, actually own NFTs, and they buy it regularly. They actually upgrade it, right? And probably they make even more money than any other kind of like a regular Web2 game studio. So yeah, so to go back in points for user acquisition, you can do community management, organic acquisition, which is actually really dependent on your gameplay, however best it is. So that is still the focus here. Nothing changes with Web3. You got to have a great game, and that's it. But your NFTs, your IAPs, etc., can be coded as NFTs, which is an advancement, which is an upgrade into your in-app purchases. And I'm going to come to that as to why that is, right? So kind of like the next steps here then would be is that the IAPs, if they can be NFTs, so the in-app purchases, why is everyone kind of marketing their NFTs and then going into the crypto native community? I think that's a mistake. So that's also the reason why we have been from the beginning playing the likes of Counter-Strike, Valorant, World of Warcraft, still in Troy, although Troy is a Web3 gaming community and Web3 gaming guild. So the reason basically is that the gamers, the regular ones, really don't care about NFTs. They just see it as when you tell them that this in-app purchase, this premium item is an NFT, they tell you that that's a money trap, right? That's just another way to extract some more revenue from me. And they are right? Because that's usually how it's done. Like we offer them something new and then name it with completely something new. So there are 2 points here. One is that the NFTs, there are a backend revolution, right? So that they are completely kind of like a new advancement, as I said, into the in-app purchase concept, which gives the user, as the second point, more user satisfaction because they are able to do many more things with that. When they own their own NFTs, they can actually programmatize it, they can actually develop it however they want. They cannot change really the metadata, but that depends on the NFT. So they can put it into sale, they can convert it into a completely new NFT, they can wrap it around into some Ethereum, etc. So it gives them a completely flexible thing. The trouble here is that how to regularly and how to really smoothly, in a couple sentences, acquire users by telling them, or after acquiring them, telling them how NFTs can actually benefit them over the long term. And once you do that, which is what we have seen in Troy, we were founded in February from 0 to up to 25,000 people back in June. So the growth was really fast. And the reason basically for that was whenever a user came into our community, our Discord, we spoke to them one-on-one individually. So the user would come in, kind of like oldest trick in the market, right? So you can come in, you can make money through crypto, etc. And in Turkey, in emerging markets, it's popular. So they come in, they know nothing. And then one of our community managers actually goes into a one-on-one chat with them and then lets them know how to open a MetaMask, what the secret key is, how best to actually put it aside and protect against kind of like penetrations and security threats, what to do and what not, right? And once you do that, and once that particular user, after a while, after a day or two of explanations, actually understands the whole point around NFT after interacting with the game, they never leave it. They are still here. Although the market is in a bear market, the coin prices, etc., are at an all-time low, they still play the game, even though, again, as a second despite, even though the games are not even as close to the Web2 games that they regularly play. Just because they know that the NFTs that they have could be valuable, are valuable, and they can do many more things with that, and they are up for exploring because it is up to them. They are not dependent on any kind of like a studio. So kind of like the 3 points here is that, one, again, gameplay is first, always. Second, IAPs as NFTs are an advancement, not a money trap, and should be regarded as such and should be marketed as such. You can tell people that these are digital in-game items, not NFTs. It doesn't concern them. It's just a back-end revolution, right? They just have to know after a while that they can actually they are able to sell it whenever, however, at whatever price, and however they like, basically. And the third point, which is kind of like the trouble in that where we are lacking in terms of a gaming studio, is NFT access and user acquisition, for which we offer rentals and scholarships, but we have to go beyond it, right? So right now, having 25,000 people in our community is good when you look at it in terms of Web3, but the point is to onboard 1 million people here, because that's when a proper game, a game like, I don't know, from Dream, from Spike, etc., or any other Web2 casual game can be really profitable, is when it hits 1 million people with a conversion rate of, instead of 1 to 2%, 10 to 20%, right? And then as long as the subscriptions are done and IAPs are done and users actually convert more and more, then you get a fee as a studio from each sale as a royalty, which is programmatized into the NFT, which makes your revenue stream even go higher. And the best thing about it is that you can offer the same game in Web2 and then also offer the same game in Web3 as well. So you don't have to actually remove your Web2 title from any other kind of like an app store as well. So it's just an additional revenue stream for you. So just to recap in last points before we go into questions, there is kind of like a saying that says never bet against innovation, right? So here I would say instead of that, instead of naming it as an innovation, I would say never bet against user satisfaction. Because if NFTs offer one thing but nothing else, is that it gives user more flexibility on what he or she can do with their own items. And you could say that as Web2 studios or as publishers, as I said, like Zynga, companies, portfolio companies, we are good, we are making money, it's all good, so why would we do Web3, right? I think it's all time dependent, so it's just a matter of time that the games, the Web3 games that have proper gameplays, better or at least the same as Zynga's games, come to the market, which is what we have seen before with PC to console, console to mobile, and then free to play, right? So the games were really bad, and then they got better with time. And only the Web3 gaming is kind of like a year old or something, right? So in its proper case. So it's going to come, and if you are not there with your proper gameplay and with your metrics, you will not go bankrupt or something. You can still sell it in App Store, but you will be missing out on a huge opportunity in terms of adding revenue streams on top. So basically, I think you should definitely add Web3 capabilities into your titles, into your games. And to recap again, the reasons are, as we have gone through them, one, growing market with huge conversion upside potential, because the conversion rates go up as you incorporate Web3 items inside your game. And then you have new methods of user acquisition that you have never used before, which could be opportunistic for you. And maybe something that I haven't touched upon, but just slightly did, is that liberation from Web2. So what I mean by that is that we are kind of like a publisher here. We don't take cuts from your revenue. We do not do profit share deals, right? So we don't also offer you $10,000, $5,000 of retention for an indie studio just so that you guys can develop your game for a couple months. But whenever you got a hit game, we don't also get 50% of the whole revenues and leave you out in the open. So what we do is that if you are a good team, if you are minting NFTs, those NFTs through our community, through our ecosystem and our marketplace, which is joinstash.io, we actually sell them. And then while selling them, you are actually accumulating some early expenditure money. So by selling your NFTs and then building your game, right? So it is much better, much non-dilutive than going to, I don't know, any other publisher, dealing with them, giving them half or more of your revenue streams if you hit a hit game, and then trying to kind of like self-publish, etc. It's kind of like the regular stream on how it is done in Web2 and the dream of every Web3 game studio. It's just not possible. It's not going to be possible from here on as the cost rise, right? I'm up always for a talk. I think that's it. So you can always reach out through team at troyguild.io, and then our Discord is at, if you want to join the community, discord.gg/Troy. Thank you very much for listening. Happy to meet you all. If you have any questions, I'm up for it. Please shoot. All right. Thanks, guys.